Families and friends, good afternoon and welcome to Convocation for MA candidates in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. I thank all of you for coming to celebrate the accomplishments of our master's candidates. We honor today a superb group that on commencement this coming Wednesday will join the ranks of our close to 38,000 graduate alumni and will embark on doctoral programs or will begin professional careers around the world. We honor today also the families and friends of our candidates who have been alongside them during the 1 or 2 year sprint leading to the MA. I would ask all MA candidates to rise and applaud those family members and friends who have helped them to be here today. Today, an outstanding master's candidate and distinguished master's alumnus will address the Assembly in turn. The MA candidate's remarks will be offered by Mr. James McGee in the Quantitative Methods in the Social Sciences program. Mr. McGee received in 2004 the Certificate in International Business from the S.C. Johnson Graduate School of Management and the BS in 2005 in Policy Analysis and Management from the College of Human Ecology, both at Cornell University, with concentrations in healthcare policy, social welfare policy, and social inequality. Mr. McGee was on the Dean's List at Cornell from 2002 through 2005. He has co-authored a number of articles, including What Do We Know About the Chinese Self? Illustrations with Self-Esteem, Self-Efficacy, and Self-Enhancement with F.S.Y. Kwan and C.M. Hui in the Oxford Handbook of Chinese Psychology. Since 2010, Mr. McGee coordinated research in the Management Division in the Columbia Business School and has served as a teaching assistant for several courses in leadership and management at Cornell's Department of Psychology and Columbia Business School. Mr. McGee.
Greetings, fellow Columbians. Thank you, Dean Alonso, for this wonderful opportunity to address the graduating class of 2012. This is a special day for many reasons, at least as many as there are students sitting in front of this stage. It is also a special day because for Americans, it is Mother's Day. I am very fortunate to have my mom, as well as my dad and brother, here to support me today. This morning, for Mother's Day, I gave my mom a muffin. I think that this is a wholly appropriate gift, not to mention cost-effective, because if I had to sum up how I got here today, it would have a lot to do with my mom and with muffins. You see, I'm not the first in my family to graduate from Columbia. My mom earned her master's degree from Teachers College here not long ago. But that's not the reason why I came to Columbia. To understand that, I have to look further back in time, back to when I developed a passion for lifelong learning, a passion for spending my days in classrooms and laboratories with people like you. I'm not certain why I've grown to love learning as much as I do, and why finishing a degree program is a little more sad than joyous for me, but I can make a pretty good guess, and it has to do with muffins. When I was in kindergarten and elementary school, my mom and dad were concerned that my schooling was not providing me with enough intellectual stimulation. So in the mornings and on weekends, my mom and I would take a short trip in our Oldsmobile to the Muffin Corner, a little coffee shop in my hometown. There we would order a muffin and orange juice for me and a coffee for my mom, and then the work would begin. My mom would pull out from her bag a selection of little yellow workbooks covering topics like spelling, grammar, and mathematics. We would work together on these books, drinking our orange juice and coffee. Although it was sometimes very hard work for my little kindergarten brain, I deeply enjoyed these times. By combining lessons with one of my other favorite things, food, I grew to love each new subject. Learning new concepts wasn't associated with stress and pressure, but rather with love and support and encouragement. These muffin lessons, while clearly helpful in giving me tools to use later in the classroom, taught me something even more important: to take ownership of my own education. I realize now that it would have been easy for my parents to send me off to school each day and expect the teachers and me both to do our respective jobs. Somehow they could have thought the information would just diffuse down a gradient into my brain. But instead, they went out of their way to find new opportunities for learning. I grew to appreciate learning both in and out of the classroom, and knowledge became its own sweet reward, able to be found everywhere I looked. I was able to look at my education in unconventional ways and find its true purpose for me, understanding how the world works around me in the hope of making it a little better. For a young kid just beginning to understand how much information there exists in this world, this made life glorious. When I came to Columbia in 2009, I hadn't changed much since elementary school. I still wanted to take ownership of my education and of this place, if only in some small way. I knew that the best way to do that was through research. You see, research is to university-level instruction what my muffin lessons were to my elementary school coursework, a path to get behind and beyond the knowledge that I could learn from textbooks, and to generate new knowledge and to share it with others. I also knew that the master's program in quantitative methods in the social sciences would be the perfect springboard for a career in research, and it was. I met my primary research advisor through one of my master's seminars. That led to a full-time research position at the business school, and with it, an opportunity to study under some of the world's leading scholars in management and organizational behavior. I found funding for my own line of research on the moral consequences of power, and outside of my work here, began to consult on legal cases involving business ethical issues. I also spent some time recruiting research participants for the behavioral lab at the business school, managing and distributing data sets for faculty, and helping to teach MBA classes. These tasks weren't always in my job description and didn't always produce an immediate benefit to my own research goals, but they fit perfectly into my plan to take ownership of my experience here by helping to generate new knowledge and sharing it with others. My time at Columbia has been deeply enriched by all of these experiences, but I probably would not have pursued them without the enduring influence of my muffin lessons. And so today, I implore you to take the knowledge, inspiration, and relationships that you have gained here and use them to find your passion and to take ownership of it. It can be something small. In fact, sometimes the smaller the better. Smaller things are easier to make your own. It doesn't really matter what it is: a research project, a book club, a garden, a local playground. Just take ownership of something in life. In essence, become its mother. Give life to it. Breathe fresh air into it. Then, the most tedious and minute tasks become important pieces of the whole. The spurious significance of the extrinsic rewards fades away, and the intrinsic rewards become what drives you. And then one day, pass it on. Make it your legacy. Give a muffin lesson to someone you love and hope that they find fulfillment in taking ownership of something too. Now, before I let you get on with the festivities of the day, please allow me to offer my gratitude to all who helped me get here today. First, thank you to my fellow students for helping me share the joy of learning that you have and for occasionally being my research guinea pigs. Thank you to my teachers and advisors, particularly my research advisors in the management division at the business school, and to Dr. Christopher Weiss and the staff of the QMSS program for being so generous with your wisdom, time, and patience. Thank you to the Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict, and Complexity at the Earth Institute for your generous funding of my master's thesis research. And most importantly, thank you to my family, to my mom and dad, whose muffin lessons and countless other acts of love and support helped me get to this point in my life, and to my brother Sean, and to my wife Jean, who amaze me with their love, inspiration, and guidance every day. Thank you again, happy Mother's Day, and congratulations to the class of 2012.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Now I would like to present the Dean's Award for Distinguished Achievement to Master's Alumnus of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences to Mr. Paul Oster. The Graduate School of Arts and Sciences holds in highest regard literary endeavor that combines intellectual rigor and formal innovation. Today we honor you, Paul Oster, an alumnus of the graduate school whose body of work transcends disciplinary and formal boundaries, yet is characterized by your unmistakable style. A native of New Jersey, you first came to Columbia as an undergraduate, graduating from Columbia College in 1969 and proceeding to earn your MA in English and Comparative Literature in 1970. You embarked upon a career as a poet and translator before publishing the memoir, The Invention of Solitude. You then turned to fiction, writing the three books that comprise the New York trilogy, City of Glass, Ghosts, and The Locked Room. In the New York trilogy, you transformed the detective novel into a meditation on language and identity, a brilliant conceit that honors and reinvigorates the conventions of the genre while extending beyond them to powerful effect. Your subsequent oeuvre displays a similar formal and conceptual ingenuity and has been recognized throughout the world with some of literature's highest honors. In addition to your prolific work as a novelist, you have found success in cinema, writing and directing the films Lulu on the Bridge and The Inner Life of Martin Frost, as well as co-writing and co-directing Blue in the Face, a sequel to the film Smoke, for which you received the Independent Spirit Award for Best First Screenplay. You're one of literature's most vivid chroniclers of New York, yet your work also has a global resonance. Through your critical essays and as an editor of the Random House Book of 20th Century French Poetry, you have played an instrumental role in introducing contemporary French literature to the American public. You have also served as an impassioned advocate for the freedom to write and publish, both as Vice President of the PEN American Center and independently. In recognition of your exceptional career and for being a model of what a Columbia graduate student can accomplish, the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences is delighted to present you, Paul Oster, with the Dean's Award for Distinguished Achievement. The Master's Address will be offered by Mr. Oster. Please.
Thank you. I had no idea I was getting this award until a few minutes ago. I just thought I was going to give a talk, so I'm really shocked. Well, greetings to all of you, and congratulations to every one of you who has earned your master's degree today. 42 years ago, when I myself earned a master's from this great university, I somehow managed to avoid going to the Convocation and also skip the commencement ceremonies as well. I suppose I was afraid of being bored by a long-winded address delivered by an old man dressed in academic robes. Now I am that old man, and here I am dressed in academic robes. Please forgive me. When Dean Alonso invited me to come here today, he made it clear that I was not being asked to give a graduation speech. Rather, he wanted me to talk for a little while about what I do, which is writing books. A somewhat simpler task than dispensing words of wisdom about your futures, but a difficult one nevertheless. Not quite sure what approach to take, I have decided to take two approaches, and therefore will be reading two short pieces today. The first is talking to strangers, a general statement about this activity called writing. And the second is an excerpt from Winter Journal, an autobiographical book that will be published in August, which is not a general statement, but a personal, deeply private account of a crucial turning point in my life as a writer. First then, talking to strangers. I don't know why I do what I do. If I did know, I probably wouldn't feel the need to do it. All I can say, and I say it with utmost certainty, is that I have felt this need since my earliest adolescence. I'm talking about writing, in particular, writing as a vehicle to tell stories, imaginary stories that have never taken place in what we call the real world. Surely it is an odd way to spend your life, sitting alone in a room with a pen in your hand, hour after hour, day after day, year after year, struggling to put words on pieces of paper in order to give birth to what does not exist, except in your own head. Why on earth would anyone want to do such a thing? The only answer I've ever been able to come up with is because you have to, because you have no choice. This need to make, to create, to invent is no doubt a fundamental human impulse. But to what end? What purpose does art, in particular the art of fiction, serve in what we call the real world? None that I can think of, at least not in any practical sense. A book has never put food in the stomach of a hungry child. A book has never stopped a bullet from entering a murder victim's body. A book has never prevented a bomb from falling on innocent civilians in the midst of war. Some like to think that a keen appreciation of art can actually make us better people, more just, more moral, more sensitive, more understanding. Perhaps that is true in certain rare, isolated cases. But let us not forget that Hitler started out in life as an artist. Tyrants and dictators read novels. Killers in prison read novels. And who is to say they don't derive the same enjoyment from books as everyone else? In other words, art is useless, at least when compared, say, to the work of a plumber or a doctor or a railroad engineer. But is uselessness a bad thing? Does a lack of practical purpose mean that books and paintings and string quartets are simply a waste of our time? Many people think so. But I would argue that it is the very uselessness of art that gives it its value, and that the making of art is what distinguishes us from all other creatures who inhabit this planet, that it is essentially what defines us as human beings, to do something for the pure pleasure and beauty of doing it. Think of the effort involved, the long hours of practice and discipline required to become an accomplished pianist or dancer. All the suffering and hard work, all the sacrifices in order to achieve something that is utterly and magnificently useless. Fiction, however, exists in a somewhat different realm from the other arts. Its medium is language, and language is something we share with others that is common to us all. From the moment we learn to talk, we begin to develop a hunger for stories. Those of us who can remember our childhoods will recall how ardently we relished the moment of the bedtime story, when our mother or father would sit down beside us in the semi-dark and read from a book of fairy tales. Those of us who are parents will have no trouble conjuring up the rapt attention in the eyes of our children when we read to them. Why this intense desire to listen? Fairy tales are often cruel and violent, featuring beheadings, cannibalism, grotesque transformations, and evil enchantments. One would think this material would be too frightening for a young child, but what these stories allow the child to experience is precisely an encounter with his own fears and inner torments in a perfectly safe and protected environment. Such is the magic of stories. They might drag us down to the depths of hell, but in the end, they are harmless. We grow older, but we do not change. We become more sophisticated, but at bottom, we continue to resemble our young selves, eager to listen to the next story and the next and the next. For years, in every country of the Western world, article after article has been published bemoaning the fact that fewer and fewer people are reading books, that we have entered what some have called the post-literate age. That may well be true, but at the same time, this has not diminished the universal craving for stories. Novels are not the only source, after all. Films and television and even comic books are churning out vast quantities of fictional narratives, and the public continues to swallow them up with great passion. That is because human beings need stories. They need them almost as desperately as they need food. And however the stories might be presented, whether on a printed page or on a television screen, it would be impossible to imagine life without them. Still, when it comes to the state of the novel, to the future of the novel, I feel rather optimistic. Numbers don't count where books are concerned, for there is only one reader. Each and every time, only one reader. That explains the particular power of the novel and why, in my opinion, it will never die as a form. Every novel is an equal collaboration between the writer and the reader, and it is the only place in the world where two strangers can meet on terms of absolute intimacy. I've spent my life in conversations with people I have never seen, with people I will never know, and I hope to continue until the day I stop breathing. It's the only job I have ever wanted. Okay, now to the next piece, the excerpt from Winter Journal. This book is written in the second person, so that the you is in fact I. The dancers saved you. They're the ones who brought you back to life that evening in December 1978, who made it possible for you to experience the scalding, epiphanic moment of clarity that pushed you through a crack in the universe and allowed you to begin again. Bodies in motion, bodies in space, bodies leaping and twisting through empty, unimpeded air. 8 dancers in a high school gym in Manhattan, 4 men and 4 women, all of them young, 8 dancers in their early 20s, and you, sitting in the bleachers with a dozen or so acquaintances of the choreographers to watch an open rehearsal of her new piece. You had been invited by David Reed, a painter you met on the student ship that took you to Europe in 1965, now your oldest friend in New York, who had asked you to come because he was romantically involved with the choreographer, Nina W., a woman you did not know well and whose affair with David did not last long. But if you are not distorting the facts, you believe she had started out as a dancer in Merce Cunningham's troupe, and now that she had turned her energies to choreography, her work bore some resemblance to Cunningham's, muscular, spontaneous, unpredictable. It was the darkest moment of your life. You were 31 years old. Your first marriage had just cracked apart. You had an 18-month-old son and no regular job, no money to speak of, grinding out your meager, inadequate living as a freelance translator, author of 3 small books of poetry with at most 100 readers in the world, padding your pittance of an income by writing critical pieces for Harper's, the New York Review of Books, and other magazines. And apart from a pseudonymous detective novel you had written the previous summer in an effort to generate some cash, which still had no publisher, your work had staggered to a halt. You were stuck and confused. You had not written a poem in more than a year, and you were slowly coming to the realization that you would never be able to write again. Such was the spot you were in that winter evening more than 32 years ago, when you walked into the high school gym to watch the open rehearsal of Nina W.'s Work in Progress. You knew nothing about dance, still know nothing about dance, but you have always responded to it with a soaring inner happiness whenever you see it done well. And as you took your seat next to David, you had no idea what to expect, since at that point Nina W.'s work was unknown to you. She stood on the gym floor and explained to the tiny audience that the rehearsal would be divided into two alternating parts: demonstrations of the principal movements of the piece by the dancers and verbal commentary from her. Then she stepped aside, and the dancers began to move around the floor. The first thing that struck you was that there was no musical accompaniment. The possibility had never occurred to you, dancing to silence rather than to music. For music had always seemed essential to dance, inseparable from dance, not only because it sets the rhythm and speed of the performance, but because it establishes an emotional tone for the spectator, giving a narrative coherence to what would otherwise be entirely abstract. But in this case, the dancers' bodies were responsible for establishing the rhythm and tone of the piece. And once you began to settle into it, you found the absence of music wholly invigorating, since the dancers were hearing the music in their heads, the rhythms in their heads, hearing what could not be heard. And because these 8 young people were good dancers, in fact, excellent dancers, it wasn't long before you began to hear those rhythms in your head as well. No sounds then, except the sounds of bare feet thumping against the wooden floor of the gym. You can't remember the details of their movements, but in your mind, you see jumping and spinning, falling and sliding, arms waving and arms dropping to the floor, legs kicking out and running forward, bodies touching and then not touching. And you were impressed by the grace and athleticism of the dancers. The mere sight of their bodies in motion seemed to be carrying you to some unexplored place within yourself. And little by little, you felt something lift inside you, felt joy rising through your body and up into your head, a physical joy that was also of the mind, a mounting joy that spread and continued to spread through every part of you. Then, after 6 or 7 minutes, the dancers stopped. Nina W. stepped forward to explain to the audience what they had just witnessed. And the more she talked, the more earnestly and passionately she tried to articulate the movements and patterns of the dance, the less you understood what she was saying. It wasn't because she was using technical terms that were unfamiliar to you. It was the more fundamental fact that her words were utterly useless, inadequate to the task of describing the wordless performance you had just seen. For no words could convey the fullness and brute physicality of what the dancers had done. Then she stepped aside, and the dancers began to move again, immediately filling you with the same joy you had felt before they'd stopped. 5 or 6 minutes later, they stopped again, and once more, Nina W. came forward to speak, again failing to capture 100th part of the beauty you had just seen. And back and forth it went for the next hour, the dancers taking turns with the choreographer, bodies in motion followed by words, beauty followed by meaningless noise, joy followed by boredom. And at a certain point, something began to open up inside you. You found yourself falling through the rift between world and word, the chasm that divides human life from our capacity to understand or express the truth of human life. And for reasons that still confound you, this sudden fall through the empty, unbounded air filled you with a sensation of freedom and happiness. And by the time the performance was over, you were no longer blocked, no longer burdened by the doubts that had been weighing down on you for the past year. You returned to your house in Dutchess County, to the downstairs workroom where you had been sleeping since the end of your marriage, and the next day you began to write. For 3 weeks, you worked on a text of no definable genre, neither a poem nor a prose narrative, attempting to describe what you had seen and felt as you'd watched the dancers dance and the choreographer talk in that high school gym in Manhattan, writing many pages to begin with, and then boiling them down to 8 pages, the first work of your second incarnation of a writer, the bridge to everything you have written in the years since. That's it. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Oster. We now arrive at the central point of the ceremony, the presentation of the master's candidates. We ask you to come forth as we call your name in recognition of your individual accomplishments. Dean Darius Birch will read the names of the MA candidates as they approach the podium.
African American Studies, Joel Philip Baumgart. Naveed Farnia. Tanya Balan Gobert. Mariana Shepard. Lauren Jessica Amsterdam. Melissa Sue Walker. Anthropology, Dina Zabedi. Tanya Kailani. Leticia Sachi Bermudez. Juan Carlos Mazariegos. Dina Omar. Bruce Snedegar Burnside. Shruti Banerjee. Alicia Pauline Vasilas. Jesse Bryce Wiles. Art History and Archaeology, Jessica Rose Garrett. Carol Berggren Santolari. Caitlin Marie Richardson. Lauren Michelle Turkio. Catherine Nicole Least. Kembly Leonella Cerdas. Sarah Charabi El-Alawi. Mitra Elahi Pana. Biological Sciences, Ashley Ray Paulson. Biomedical Informatics, Seun Jun Jung. Minwei Liu. Tejdeep Singh Bawa. Priyanka Pathak. Mary Regina Boland. Maria Orlena Carlo Unda. Jonathan Kim. Biotechnology, Diego Rojas. Ana de Santiago Torrio. Surain Devathukamar. Kei Shu. Chen Xian Su. Winston Lee. Xiaoyu Li. Monica Sofia Deostado. Li Hiao Yang. Netta Mofrod. Brittany Jade Perry. Michael Andrew Reslinski. Eric Paul Greenwald. Mrinalina Gururaj. Payal Jain. Mansi Vasishtha. Wendu Kral. Siwei Song. Ying Wang. Veronica Castro. Sarah Nick. Madalena Angelica Alagreta. Climate and Society. Deborah Berner. Juan Carlos de Obeso. Hector Emmanuel. Kenneth Allen Sinclair. Sophia Carolina Villarreal Moran. Troy James Simpson. Yushang Zhou. Linwei Liu. Wanqing Zhou. Lin Wang. Zhuanzi Li. Ingrid Garcia Solera. Gustavo Valdivia Corrales. Gary Monitz. Stephen Theodore Solecki. Jessica Nafee. Sarah Blakely. Melissa Matlock. Vivian Derson. Lauren Nicole Smith. Gleb Gaivoy. Xiaoyu Lin. Matthias Pfuff. Jay Reno. Ileana Cardenas Trujillo. Jonathan McGillivray. Hui Shi. Gloria Cristina Recalde Coronel. Sarah Fackler. Riddick Goshroy. Takuya Yoshida. Margaret C. Sutton. Daniel John Sousa. Nicholas Hudson. Zheng Wang. Alexa J. Rohini Kamal. Emily Cullen Jess Simmons. Emily Louise Schnarr. Classics. Cynthia F. Calder. Isaiah Crossan. Barbara Edith Fink. Theo McGraw-Webster. Conservation Biology. Erin Penny Mulcahy. Annie Margaret Dean. Catherine Ann Freund. Justine Wei Lee. Francine Stacy Johnson. Michael Butler Brown. Nilufar Bayani. Tatiana Escobar Fadul. Timothy Joseph Agan. Joel Robert Peterson. Trevor Starren Granger. Derek Jonathan Berezdivin. Evan Merle McCartney Melstad. East Asia Regional Studies, Benjamin Dallas Arterburn. Parsival Sola Alvarado. Francisca Jose Cadavid. David Michael Liebenberg. Yi Yang. Xin Yin Cao. Yi Young Zhao. Gabriel Segre. John Lyman Leisure. Rochi Tan. Owen Austin Cooney. Jeffrey Wayne. Hui Feng Doreen Ko. Sho Nita. Zheng Zhou. Mengwei Wang. Wanwen Wang. Shi Chen. Adrian Robert Gabriel Stoloff. Allison Elizabeth Bernard.
It's a new department, ELAC.
East Asian Languages and Cultures, Anastasia Thomas. Ori Parath. Adina Yoon. Jessica Naomi Goldberg. Stephen Alexander Ottinger. Yorkie Yahweh Tom. Tenzin Dulker. Kelly Midori McCormick. Julia Magdalena Kablinska. Laura Catherine Warren. Mickey Yu Jung Hyun. Economics, Daniel VR. English and Comparative Literature, Eric Louis Mazo. Laura Beverly Driver. Matthew Joseph Margini. Sebastian Mumtazi. Victoria Ann Moray. Caitlin Honoria McCartney. Alicia Nadkarni. Tara Carberry. Aaron Maxwell Pendleton. French Cultural Studies in a Global Context, Jennifer Maria Steiner. Erin Lee Stein. Allison Astuno. Amanda Grace Sabatka. Alexandra Lauby O'Neill. Jessica Davison. Melanie Sharon Langer. Human Rights, Marina Udovchik. Krista Jane Temple. Jody Ann Conifee. Matthew Kennis. Louis Anthony Molina.
Human rights. It says human rights.
Jillian Carson. Vilda Mikkelsen Barevik. Yoshini Naomi Rupa Singer. Stephanie Leah Bloom. Alexander James Dana. Dragana Kauran. Colleen Brisport. Donna Michelle Barakat. Teresa Kasumi Kretzman. Elizabeth Z. Marcus. Yasmin Saba Askari. Tamadar Al-Malek. Mariangel Stiplanel. Jorge Luis Escobedo. Melinda Mester Marshall. International and World History, Jean-Louis Stassin. Italian, Maria Sofia Stillo. Christina Maureen Chiappa. Alexa Victoria Elmaki Kennedy. Lorenzo Filippo Bacchini. Japanese Pedagogy, Rika Kobayashi. Noriko Murata. Naoko Surial. Saudi Tauchi. Nobuko Weingard. Latin American and Iberian Studies, Joanna Morales. Susana Inez Perez. Julie Wolfe. Catherine Hampton. Liana Kelsey Jakisun. Mila Burns Nascimento.
That's the news.
Nadine Ramharet.
This is regional studies.
American Studies, David Paul Briand. Yassine Belkacemi. Christina Hyunmi Kim. Elizabeth Kirkland. Anna Lorraine Chan Imperial. Yvonne Nicole Rojas. Beth Butler. Liberal Studies, East Asian Studies, Duo Chen. Jing Zhao. Danny Zhao. Ju Emerald Lee. Thalia Diane Sutton. Taliesin Taigata Thomas. Ha Kyung Kim. Seung Jin Kim. John Paul DeSerio. Nicholas Jordan Chen. Liberal Studies, Islamic Studies, Hei Yum Cho. Sophia Ibrahim. Biza Zainab Ali. Layla El Khatib. Julie Dawson. Jewish Studies. Liberal Studies, Modern European Studies, Miriam Annabelle Ray. Liberal Studies, South Asian Studies, Prashant David Kuganathan. Mathematics of Finance, Hebo Young. Ruyang Zhang. Bing Yu. Junrui Shao. Minghao Li. Jianchen Liu. Bolun Tang. Clement Chan. Ken Inoue. Koshiro Ono. Andres Jaime. Ezekiel Zambaglioni. Sebastian Umels. Fabian Greiman. Joaquin Tapia Macias. Joanne Chan. Sofia Cordero Ramirez. Luis Alberto Romero Ibarra. Jia Peng. Xin Shui Wang. Yu Zhao Yi. Anita Buzingo Shima. Suraj Kumar Keshri. Praveen Kohli. Suofei Ouyang. Rong Jiao. Ximing Huan. Tai Wai Kwok. Yu Zheng Chen. Kang Wang. Yi Liu. Shuting Wang. Shu Shi. Jie Xia. Anna Sokolova. Juyi Tsai. Nikhil Jain. Greta Johanna Villarosa. Rajat Shekhar. Isabel Bonet. Greg Ari Borovic. Andrei Lesanovsky. Victor Yorgian Popa. Nathaniel Danan. Roya Rafari. Deborah Lelouch. Miriam Melanie Wanunu. Alexandra Christina Riederer. Stefan Buhana. Edouard de Bermy. Paul Abitbal. Kirsty Smith. Victor Lethan. Cyril Denis Louis Retornaz. Mark Fiani. Leah Yared. Suzanne Marie Mullen. Yervan Nersisyan. Philippe Vargas. Chao Li. Nicholas Strechinsky. Juan Wong. Vivek Menon. Liberal Studies, Medieval Studies, Charles Christopher Yost. Jeffrey Crandall Berry.
It seems like you're about halfway through the second half, so I guess a quarter.
Diksha Gabiye. Ronnie Dreyer. Middle East, South Asian, and African Studies, Fatima Rahmani. Peter Christopher Sobiraj. Ferman Guloglu. Dilyara Agisheva. Modern Art, Critical and Curatorial Studies, Jamie Beth Schwartz. Lisa Williams. Jaron Erdem. Carrie Lee Gertner. Eric Christine Adjamin. Susan Funder Carlson. Carolyn Blankenbeckler. Joseph Girgel. Katharina Ann Crawford Clausius.
Music.
Oral history, Jeffrey H. Brodsky. Shanna Marie Farrell. Kristen La Follette. Catherine Morris. Sunite Tesfi. Philosophy, Usha Nathan. Physics, Xiao Xiao. Political science, Ramona Taheri. Amanda McAdam Persley. Stephen Daniel Rashin. Felipe Alejandro Osorio Wong. Mary Martha Ferrari Douglas. Adam Hamilton Hyams. Anika Milena Brooks. Omar Farouk El Okta. Sungmi Lee. Benjamin Andrew Shipman. Chung Hock Lee. Chun Long, Ao Chun Long. Ian Wan Tan. Valerie Sin Ying Ko. Lo Shi Xuan Michelle. Sarah Lee Wen Soon. Xinwei Yo. Dongju Lee. Psychology, Barbie Jean Huelser Mesa. Joan Huang.
QMSs.
Quantitative methods in the social sciences. Marina Eckhouse Bregman. Monica Eileen Pereira. Clara Leah Magram. Joel Daniel Myers. Gandalf Hernandez. John Martin Richardson. Oludulapo Fakea. Jun Kiang Clarence Tan. Jason Sklar. Vanessa Morera Parkinson de Castro. Jose Cabezas. Seth Michael Cresson. Frederick Lungzo Long. William Long Hennessy. Kristen Bethany Kell. Sarah Sinclair Vetting. Lauren Denise Washington. Yana Kovachovska. Alexandra Meade Vaughn. Ian Daniel Clark. Pedro Hezeni Avila. Audrey Aris. James McGee. Rhiannon Nicole Miller Vasquez. Douglas Lee Pewitt. Nicole L. Williams. Tarzia Chaudhry. Ming Jung Kwan. Aaron Charles Hornstein. Yi Chao Fan. Mengyi Yang. Shengji Shu. Ren Chen Ge. Huza Song.
We're 3/4 done. I'm sorry, I don't know how long that is.
Russia, Eurasia, and East Europe Regional Studies, Catherine Ann Brooks. Abigail Judge Krepp. Sarah Mariah Van Wettering. Virginia Ann Wilkinson. Sociology, Hao Ding. Wen Jiao Ban. Xiao Yum Ni. Anushri Dasgupta, Christine Tran, Sonia Mendoza, Corina Kat Samuels, Laurel Ann Menlo, Kevin Lochran, Ekaterina Polterak, Jacqueline Bertucci, Statistics. Qingyun Lin, Yanqing Wang, Mengshun Wang, Xiao Ye, Weihua Gao, Shenzhen Liu, Zhen Han, Yi Yan, Yeqiao Liu, Yijia Pan, Yingbo Chen, Zheng Liu, Mingzi He, Aravind Kolumam Raja, Peter Benjamin Engel, Vijayan Ekanathan, Daniel Junwook Kim,
I know I said 40
Jin Young,
but now I think it's 40 or 50.
Mingsu Liu, Lu Wang, Cheng Cheng, Susan Wei Sun, Tianfang Wu, Wenbo Sun, Wenyi Tu, Jubai Wang, Guanlin Yang, Yun Shu, Junchuo Liao, Mingru Zhou, Yu Chen,
I'll remember.
Shan Wu, Chuan Gao, Jie Mao, Si Jiadong, Fan Zhang, Lin Fang Liu, Xiao Tianmi, Bing Bai, Rimajana Belankaya, Catherine Marie Famia, Silas Merez, Jonathan Raphael Fincy, Chan Chu, Da Ke, Bai Shou, Lu Wang, Yifan Fang, Fan Jia, Min Fang, Gay Song, Wei Fen Tan, Shitao Zhang, Li Li, Man Li, Yao Qin, Daying Cao, Ying Nan Zhang, Hong Jie Yo, Jui Jin, Fengshi Wang, Yan Wang, Fan Chen, Ying Wang, Ying Ling, Jia Jia, Ting Ting Lin, Yushin Zhang, Yan Lin Wu, Yan Chuan, Han Wei Li, Fei Fei Liu, Rachel Yang Rui Hu, Shin Sun, Si Hong Su, Tian Xian Chen, Kit Ho Young, Eun Hyun Park, Frangui Kuo, Jia Liu, Ning Gao, Jia Lei Hu, Hui Zhang. Theater, Aimir Fainaru, Nagara Noemi Ndiaye,
Dale Tursa, President of the GSAS Alumni Board, will now speak to you about the Alumni Association of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. Ms. Tursa?
Thank you. I'll be brief. Dean Alonso, Provost Coatsworth, Vice President Dirks, distinguished faculty, alumni, friends, and our most honored participants here this afternoon, our graduates, thank you for giving me a few minutes to address you. On behalf of the Alumni Association of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences and its board of directors, as well as the nearly 40,000 GSAS alumni worldwide, I offer our graduates here hearty congratulations on this momentous occasion and milestone in your career. I also welcome you to the next phase of your relationship with the graduate school and the university, that is, as newly minted automatic members of the GSAS Alumni Association. So you thought you were finished? You're not. Our Alumni Association was formed over 50 years ago. Its mission is relatively simple. That is to establish and nurture a community of alumni, foster the engagement of alumni with the academic and institutional initiatives of the graduate school, support the interests and needs of current graduate students, and assist the dean in perpetuating and enhancing the reputation and prestige of GSAS. In furtherance of our mission, our board and its various committees meet several times a year, and we have held rather well-attended annual meetings here on campus at which we have showcased interesting and provocative faculty speakers, alumni, and graduate students who have been very willing to share their work. We are a particularly committed group of alumni who pride ourselves on having some fun together, along with our fearless leader, Dean Alonso. We also have food and wine, so that's a big draw. We have sponsored a variety of events, including career panels and alumni socials, and many of us have mentored students as they look forward to careers, including those outside the academic world. We have also helped publicize and support graduate school activities such as departmental reunions, concerts, lectures, and the like. And of course, we work with and support the activities of the overarching Columbia Alumni Association, of which you are also newly minted members. We have hosted and sponsored events in New York, Washington, Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, among other cities. We even spent a weekend a few years ago at Biosphere 2 in Oracle, where we spent some time with some ants. And I, along with other board members, have met with GSAS alums around the world in London, Paris, Geneva, Beijing, and Hong Kong. So wherever you are, we can find you. But how do we keep in touch? Through various ways, including mailings, the GSAS alumni newsletter called Superscript, and generally via our GSAS alumni website. We have one, gsas.columbia.edu/alumni. Many of us also follow graduate school activities via logging on to the newsletter for GSAS students, with which I'm sure you're familiar. It's called 109 Low. But our success depends in large part on you, our newest fellow alums. First, we need to know how to be in touch with you, so your correct email address and physical address are important. And we want to hear from you. We want you to contribute to our newsletter. If not articles, feel free to share announcements of publications and professional achievements. Give us your ideas on how we can further our mission. Come to events, be in touch, get involved. And if you don't heed my advice and you become a rather sleepy alum, Here comes a voluntary disclosure from a lawyer. I was a rather sleepy alum for 20 years. And if somebody from GSAS comes knocking on your door like they did mine and lets you know how much you've been missing at your #1 alma mater, you may just find yourself as the next president of the GSAS Alumni Association giving a welcome at Convocation. Thank you, congratulations again, and welcome to the Alumni Association.
Thank you, Ms. Sturza. And now my closing remarks to the graduating class. We are engaged today in one of the most solemn moments of academic life, in a grand setting, surrounded by those dearest to us, yet I would encourage you to examine it for the ritual that it is, with its trappings, customs, and the very, very silly hats. Some of you may ask rightfully whether there are times in which it would be best to suspend critical scrutiny and bask unabashedly in the joy of the moment. Life is continually presenting us with such moments of unadulterated bliss, or sorrow for that matter, finding love, the birth of a child, the death of someone dear to us, and it behooves us to give ourselves totally to these moments if we're going to have a claim to being fully alive. But this is precisely the solace and the comfort that you have waived even in the relatively short apprenticeship that has taken you to this afternoon. Because regardless of the discipline in which you will receive your master's degree this coming Wednesday, what you have learned is not merely a way of asking questions about particular objects, but the very discipline of asking questions itself. Hence, you should be proud of and faithful to what you have learned here. But the discipline of asking questions requires that you not be so proud and so faithful that you be unable to critique the very education that you have acquired in this institution. In order to be continually open to the new, you must be able to take your distance from the presumed necessity of what you have learned here, to challenge the very things that define you as belonging to your institutional origin, to entertain at every turn the possibility of self-imposed exile from your academic home. We must train ourselves to think outside those confines, not just because knowledge is increasingly multi and interdisciplinary, but because, above all, what we aimed to teach you was the acquisition of the vexing habit of continually challenging everything you espouse. The kind of openness to the new that I propose, and the vigilance required for it to maintain itself in your scholarly life, will be learned every single day in the negotiation of all the experiences with which life will present you, all the daily moments in which your capacity to confront change or to become the agent of change will be tested not only or even principally by what is new and unforeseen, but even more forcefully and dangerously by what is customary and what will be expected of you. It will be at such moments that you will renew the legitimacy of the degree that you're about to receive and the trust that this institution will deposit in you by granting it. At such moments, it will be worth remembering that you were not conferred this degree just because you could ask certain questions, but also so you would ask questions critically, doggedly, and unsparingly, even if, perhaps especially if, the one not spared is yourself. We are immersed nowadays in a radical technological turning point that, whether we agree with it or not, has already changed thoroughly who and what we are, how we do our work, and even how we read. The symptoms of this new circumstance, whether related to the commodification of all experience that characterizes globalization, or to what may seem to us as the narcissism of the digital social networks, or to the transformation of reading into a sort of skimming, they are, however, not a passing phenomenon. They're here to stay, and no amount of railing against them will change that fact. In the face of that reality, we must first be honest with ourselves, and further, and most especially, be generous with our students who do not even have the experience of another way of being, and cease expressing disappointment about the deficiencies and limitations of their novel ways of knowing. Our students know other things, possess different skills, and make other kinds of connections with the information that they possess and with the world. This openness to the new, as represented by our students' performance of their selves, is going to be, I think, the single most substantial challenge as scholars and pedagogues that we will all be facing in the near future. The humanistic shibboleth, "an unexamined life is not worth living," may not be relevant anymore when one's life is minutely, excruciatingly, and routinely displayed for conspicuous examination in Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo. It may very well be that we will have to contend with a new understanding of the self, not based on concepts and metaphors of depth and uniqueness, one that will be articulated not in a vertical but in a horizontal understanding of the subject. Such a transformation will have profound implications for ourselves, for our students, and for the ways in which we will understand our professional work henceforth. But most important, you will have to come to terms with these issues using the critical and intellectual tools that you have acquired in this institution and take them to their ultimate consequences, even if the kind of scholar that you were trained to be or that you thought you would be may no longer be tenable as propositions. For the gift that your Columbia graduate education has given you is to be able to entertain in your mind the most radical thought experiment. What if things were otherwise than what they are? What if you were not how you think you are? And then to reimagine the world anew. We, your professors and mentors in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, are certain that you will take meticulous care of this exacting gift of the cultivation of the otherwise. Go forth, prosper, and prevail. Make us and your relatives and friends prouder still of you than we are today. Will the candidates all stand so we may give them a final round of applause, please?